August 1977. The world mourned Elvis Presley, but this story asks, what if fate had given him one more chance? What if, in the summer of 1976, the king of rock and roll had faced his demons not alone in the halls of Graceland, but with the one woman who'd always seen past the legend to the man beneath? This is not the story the tabloids told. This is the story his loyal fans always hoped existed, where love proved stronger than fame, where redemption came not from the stage, but from the heart, and where Elvis Aron Presley discovered that the greatest comeback wasn't for the cameras, but for the people who loved him most. Some legends are born on stage. Some are born in the quiet moments when a man chooses to fight for what truly matters. January 1976. Elvis stood backstage in Las Vegas, his hands trembling as he struggled with the zipper on his jumpsuit. The white fabric with its elaborate eagle design, once fitted perfectly, now strained against his body. Through the curtain, he could hear the crowd chanting his name, but their voices sounded distant, as if he were underwater. "Boss, 5 minutes," Joe Esposito said gently, concern evident in his eyes. Joe had been with Elvis since the Army days, had watched the transformation from hungry, young talent to global icon, to this a man barely holding himself. Together with prescription pills and pure willpower, Elvis caught his reflection in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. At 41, he looked a decade older. The medication cocktail his doctors prescribed uppers to perform, downers to sleep, painkillers for the constant discomfort, had bloated his face and dulled his eyes. But worse than the physical changes was the emptiness he felt. The show was mechanical. He hit the marks, sang the songs the audience wanted, moved through the choreography that had once felt like breathing. But when he sang the ballads, the love songs that had made teenage girls swoon and grown women cry, he thought only of Priscilla and Lisa Marie in Los Angeles, living a life he wasn't part of. Afterward, alone in his suite, Elvis made a decision. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he'd memorized, but rarely called. "Scylla? It's me. Don't hang up, please." His voice cracked. "I need help. I'm drowning, and I don't know how to save myself anymore." The silence on the other end stretched so long he thought she'd disconnected. Then, "Where are you?" "Vegas, the Hilton. I'll be there tomorrow." No hesitation. No lecture. Just the immediate response of someone who, despite everything, still cared. When Priscilla walked into his suite the next afternoon, Elvis barely held it together. She looked strong, healthy, vibrant, everything he wasn't. She'd built a life for herself, was taking acting classes, raising Lisa Marie with grace and determination. She'd become the woman he'd always prevented her from being. "Show me," she said simply. Elvis led her to the bathroom, where bottles lined the counter like soldiers. Demerol, Percodan, Seconal, Bexadrine, Qualues. Names that had become his daily vocabulary. Priscilla's hand flew to her mouth. "Elvis." "How long?" "Years. Since the comeback special, maybe before." It started with the exhaustion, the schedule the Colonel demanded. Just something to keep going, to sleep when I needed to sleep, to perform when I was too tired to stand. And then, he couldn't finish. She didn't touch him, but her eyes held a mixture of sadness and something else, not pity, but recognition. "You can't do this alone. You need real help. Not the yes men who bring you pills. Real help. Will you help me?" The question came out smaller than he intended. "I'll help you find help. But Elvis, you have to want this. Not for me, not for Lisa Marie, not for your fans. For you." Black and white image prompt. A weathered man in his early 40s, wearing an elaborate white jumpsuit, standing backstage with his back to the camera, looking at his reflection in a full-length mirror, his posture showing exhaustion and defeat. Stage lights visible in the background, through a curtain. 1970s Las Vegas atmosphere, dramatic lighting creating stark shadows, capturing the weight of fame and isolation, fine-grained black and white photography. Dr. George Nicopolis, Dr. Nick, to those close to Elvis, sat across from the singer in a private office, far from Graceland's chaos. For the first time, they had an honest conversation. "You've been enabling an addiction," Priscilla said bluntly, having insisted on being present. "Not helping him." Dr. Nick's face reddened, but he didn't deny it. "The pressure from the Colonel, from the tour schedule. The Colonel doesn't care if Elvis lives or dies, as long as he keeps performing," Priscilla interrupted. "I'm asking you, as a doctor, not as an employee. Will you help him get clean, or do we need to find someone who will?" The intervention that followed wasn't dramatic. There were no cameras, no press releases. Elvis checked into a private facility in California under an assumed name. Priscilla rented an apartment nearby, bringing Lisa Marie on weekends so Elvis could see his daughter during supervised visits. Withdrawal was brutal. Elvis, accustomed to controlling every aspect of his image, found himself vulnerable and raw. He shook, sweated, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. But Priscilla came every day during visiting hours, and her presence was the anchor he needed. "Tell me about your day," he'd say, desperate for any connection to the normal world beyond these walls. She'd talk about Lisa Marie's school play, about her acting class, about the small triumph of parallel parking successfully. Mundane details that felt like lifelines. "I'm scared, Scylla," he admitted during week 3. "What if I get clean and discover there's nothing left? What if Elvis Presley only existed because of the pills?" "Then you find out who Elvis Aron Presley is," she replied, echoing words she'd spoken before. "The boy from Tupelo who loved gospel music and his mama. The young man who changed music forever because he felt it in his soul, not because chemicals told him to feel it." In group therapy, Elvis heard stories from people who had nothing, no fame, no fortune, no Graceland, just addiction and the fight to survive it. A construction worker named Jimmy talked about losing his family. A teacher named Susan described missing her daughter's graduation because she was too high to get out of bed. Their stories cracked something open in Elvis. "I thought being Elvis Presley meant I was different," he told the group. "But sitting here, I realize my addiction looks just like yours. Money and fame just gave me better hiding places." Progress was slow. Some days he wanted to leave, to return to the comfortable numbness of prescription oblivion. But he'd made a promise, not to Priscilla, not to his fans, but to himself in that Vegas bathroom mirror when he'd finally seen the truth. After 60 days, his doctor approved him for outpatient treatment. Priscilla picked him up, and as they drove through Los Angeles traffic, Elvis noticed things he'd missed for years: the color of jacaranda trees, the sound of children laughing, the smell of coffee from a roadside cafe. "The world kept turning without me," he said quietly. "The world needs you in it," Priscilla replied. "The real you, not the legend. Just you." Black and white image prompt. A man in casual clothes sitting in a sparse therapy room, his hands clasped together, looking down with humility and vulnerability. A woman sitting beside him offering support. Sunlight streaming through Venetian blinds, creating striped shadows. Institutional but hopeful setting, capturing the difficult journey of recovery. Intimate documentary-style black and white photography. Returning to Graceland was surreal. The mansion felt like a museum to someone else's life. The garish decor, the gaudy excess, the echo of emptiness in every room. Elvis stood in the jungle room, remembering recording sessions where he'd been so high he barely remembered the takes. "This has to change," he told Jerry Schilling, one of the few Memphis Mafia members he still trusted. All of it. The hangers-on, the yes-men, the chaos. I need structure. I need purpose. I need to remember why I started making music in the first place. The purge was painful. People who'd been on Elvis's payroll for years suddenly found themselves without access. The Colonel, furious at Elvis's new boundaries, threatened lawsuits and breach of contract. But for the first time in decades, Elvis stood firm. "I'm not your puppet anymore, Colonel. I'm grateful for what you did for my career. But I'm taking control of my life now." Priscilla helped him redesign Graceland, stripping away the worst of the excess, creating spaces that felt human rather than theatrical. They turned one wing into a proper home for Lisa Marie, with bright colors and normal furniture where a 9-year-old could actually play. "You're staying?" Elvis asked one evening as they painted Lisa Marie's room together, a soft lavender she'd chosen herself. "I'm helping," Priscilla corrected gently. "I have my life in California, Elvis, my studio, my independence. But that doesn't mean we can't be family. We just need to redefine what family means for us." Lisa Marie thrived in the new environment. No more confused adults stumbling through the hallways at 3 a.m. No more strangers sleeping on couches. Just her dad, learning to be present, learning to cook breakfast even if he burned the pancakes, learning that being a father meant showing up consistently, not just with extravagant gifts. Music returned slowly. Elvis set up a small studio in Graceland's basement, nothing fancy, just him and a guitar and the songs that mattered. He started writing for the first time in years, processing his journey through lyrics that were raw and honest. Red West. One of his oldest friends stopped by one afternoon and found Elvis alone at the piano, working through a melody. "Sounds good, E," Red said. "Different from your usual style, but good." "It's honest," Elvis replied. "Maybe that's been missing. I've been performing my life for so long, I forgot how to just live it." The turning point came when Elvis called a meeting with RCA executives and proposed something radical, a gospel album. Not the watered-down religious songs they'd released before, but real gospel, the music of his childhood, the songs his mother had sung, the sound that had inspired everything else. "Gospel doesn't sell like rock and roll," the executives protested. "I don't care. This is what I need to make. If it sells, great. If it doesn't, at least I'll have made something true." Recording that album became a spiritual experience. Surrounded by the Jordanaires and other gospel singers who remembered the hungry young Elvis from Sun Records, he poured his soul into every note. When he sang about grace and redemption, he meant every word. Black and white image prompt. A man sitting alone at an upright piano in a simple basement studio. Sheet music scattered around him, his hand pausing over the keys in a moment of creative inspiration. Natural light from a small window, acoustic guitar leaning against the wall, capturing the pure essence of music making without spectacle. Intimate and authentic moment, documentary-style black and white photography. June 1977. Elvis stood backstage at the Municipal Auditorium in Memphis, not Vegas. Not a massive stadium, but his hometown. He'd insisted on this venue, wanted to prove to himself and to Memphis that he was back, truly back. Priscilla stood beside him, and for the first time in years, he wasn't trembling. His white suit fit properly. His mind was clear. His voice, though not the superhuman instrument of his youth, was strong and true. "You ready?" she asked. "Terrified," he admitted. "But it's a different kind of fear. Not the fear of failing. The fear of succeeding. Of proving that I can do this clean, that I'm still here." "You are still here," Priscilla said, straightening his collar in a gesture so familiar it brought tears to his eyes. "And Memphis is ready to welcome you home." Lisa Marie peeked around the curtain, her eyes wide with excitement. "Daddy, there's so many people." "You watch from right here. Okay, baby?" Let me show you what your old man can still do. The introduction sent the crowd into a frenzy. But when Elvis walked on stage, the roar faded into something else, a collective gasp, then silence, and applause that built slowly, like a wave gathering strength. He looked different. Trimmer, healthier, but more than that present. His eyes met the audience's eyes. His smile was genuine, not the practiced curl of his lip that had become mechanical. "Memphis," he said simply. "I'm home." The first song was a gospel number from the new album, not a crowd pleaser from his catalog of hits. Some might have protested, but not this audience. They were with him, every note, every moment. When he transitioned into the early rock and roll numbers that had made him famous, the energy in the room was electric but different from his old shows. This wasn't hysteria. This was communion. He sang love songs. And this time, he looked at Priscilla in the wings, letting her know these words were for her, not as his wife, not as his ex-wife, but as the woman who'd saved his life by refusing to watch him destroy it. During the final number, Elvis invited Lisa Marie on stage. She was shy at first, but he knelt down to her level, and together they sang a simple song about love and family. The audience didn't see Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. They saw a father with his daughter, a moment of pure humanity that transcended performance. Backstage afterward, as fans clamored for autographs and photos, Elvis found a quiet moment with Priscilla. "Thank you," he said, "for not giving up on me when I'd given up on myself. I didn't save you, Elvis. You saved yourself. I just believed you could do it. What happens now?" He asked, "With us?" Priscilla considered the question carefully. "I think we keep doing what we're doing. Being honest with each other. Being good parents to Lisa Marie. Being friends who love each other enough to want each other to thrive, even if that means not being together in the traditional way. Is that enough?" "It's more than enough. It's real. And real is what we both needed all along." The next morning, newspapers ran headlines about Elvis's triumphant return, about the voice that had reclaimed its power, about the king who'd fought his way back from the edge. But the story that mattered most was quieter, simpler. A man who'd chosen life over legend, who'd discovered that true greatness wasn't measured in record sales or sold-out shows, but in the courage to be authentically himself. Black and white image prompt. A performer on stage in an elegant white suit, arms outstretched to a massive crowd, stage lights creating dramatic rays through the darkness. Capturing a moment of genuine connection between artist and audience, a small child visible at stage left. Hometown municipal auditorium atmosphere, triumphant but humble energy. Classic concert photography in black and white, capturing redemption and homecoming. Elvis Presley didn't die in August 1977 in this story. He truly lived, discovering that survival was its own form of victory. The gospel album went platinum, proving that authenticity resonated more than spectacle. He performed selectively, choosing venues and songs that mattered to him rather than maximizing profit. More importantly, he was present for Lisa Marie's childhood. He attended her school events, taught her to play piano, showed her that strength meant admitting weakness and fighting through it. Priscilla maintained her independence, but remained a constant presence, proving that love doesn't always look like fairy tales. Sometimes it looks like two people choosing each other's happiness over their own egos. The fans who loved Elvis most weren't disappointed by this version of the king. They celebrated it, because what they'd always sensed beneath the hip-swiveling rebel and the Vegas showman was a decent man from Tupelo who'd loved his mama, loved music, and fought demons most people never had to face in the public eye. Some legends end in tragedy. This one ended in grace. Elvis's journey from darkness to light resonates with anyone who's ever fought their own demons. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, there is hope. Download our free resource guide, The Road to Recovery, Finding Help and Hope, and discover that it's never too late to reclaim your life. Because every person deserves a chance at redemption, and every story deserves a chapter about coming home.